Oh, God.
All right, welcome to Stalker Talk. I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Hernandez. If you want to catch
if
that
you listen
joke.
to the pre-show, you'll understand that.
Oh, delete.
For the fourth time in 7 days, I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Hernandez. Joining me tonight, this love doctor is still able to practice in 23 states. It's Steve Koski.
I have the death sentence on 12 systems.
Any state that has a national park, he's not allowed in.
That leaves me. I'm still good in what, Mississippi?
I was listening to this this podcast about this Canadian serial killer, but he was complete, just not merely mountain, but hermit. So he had no cell phone, no phone number, no nothing. And so when they actually caught him, when they were like, oh, this guy probably murdered this someone, he went on the lam for 14 days, and they're scanning national parks and stuff like that and doing infrared radar and all this stuff and trying to check it. They're he literally had no signature anywhere. Well, and so they were like, we can't even find this guy. And
how does this man function without a smartphone?
Well, he
must have magic powers.
He really didn't function because he really just would go into these cabins and hermit out. He had no front teeth because they were rotted. He would defecate and wrap them up in newspapers. He was this cray guy. And then he had
the kind of guy that you would see in Midvale.
This was up in Canada. He had a revolver, and then he ordered bullets, and then years later he used to carry around a briefcase with the revolver, and then he ordered some bullets, and then he started taking people hostage in Canada. And it's funny, it's we took this one couple hostage in Canada, and they got to Toronto, and the husband just guys having them drive him everywhere because this guy's total hermit, can't even drive. And so he's got the husband at gunpoint. They're driving through Toronto, and then the husband just parks and stays perfectly still in the middle of an intersection. And then the guy's just oh crap, what am I supposed to do? This guy's dragging all this attention because everyone's honking at him because he's in the middle of the intersection. So the gunman just goes, ah, and just runs off. Anytime he was seriously confronted, he would just run off. Because it was what are you going to do? Kill somebody in the middle of an intersection? Then everyone's going to go that guy right there. He did it.
Here's the thing I want to know. Why is it that of all the true crime and the serial killer, those kind of shows, women are the primary audience? What is about serial killers
Tom
and
Nelson
women?
was the primary audience.
I'm the primary audience. Most of them.
It could be one of
my
the
son, Steven. He'd
same.
listen to true crime stuff for the rest of his life.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, but if you go and listen to them, don't get me wrong. Some of them are really cool, like the Generation X podcast. There's the Generation Y. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it is. But all of their advertising is targeted towards the female
ads.
listeners.
Okay.
And so you're it's
well,
just
they know
really
they know how white
interesting.
Tom's hips are.
This is fair.
He does have a nice sachet.
Anyway, you don't understand who else is talking to you because we haven't done the intros. His Euro game will be buttoned up tighter than USPSA's financial records. It's Robert Wyatt.
That's going to be leaky pretty soon.
And he splits faster than a banana. His children will miss. Jared Stepp.
Man.
So
let them eat lead or copper.
I went to the range with Jared yesterday, and Jared ended up bringing his new Beretta shotgun, and decided to see how fast he could split a semi-automatic shotgun with number 1 buckshot in it. How was that, Jared?
It was great. We found out that Beretta 1301s can do 13 splits, but 12 splits induce malfunction. So I had to slow down. It was too bad. I tried to do an 11, and it just was and it didn't work.
So the real trick then would be to get you and Michalek, you with your Beretta and Michalek with his Mossberg, and see who can jam the gun faster. Suck it, old man. The future's now.
Man.
So is there a shotgun out there that you can't outrun?
I don't know, because supposedly the 1301 is the fastest shotgun. It has an operating system that's supposedly in the all the paperwork says it's 50% faster than any other shotgun. And you don't know if that's true or not. But I was able to outrun the trigger a couple times yesterday. And again, that was shooting buckshot. We had some slug as well. We also had some bird shot, but most of it I was doing, what was it? We did a bill drill in 138 with the hits on the target with buckshot.
So what happens when you outrun it? You're not getting a malfunction. You're just not getting a bang.
No, it induces a malfunction because it's going bang, bang, and I don't know if I'm pulling the trigger right when it's supposed to be resetting, but somehow I induce a malfunction where it stops shooting. So I have to rack it. The round is in the chamber.
The round's in the chamber, but it's not able to fire.
Cocked. Correct.
Yeah, so
I can do that.
Okay.
If there's a disconnector,
can do that with my 2011s as well.
So there's the hammer can fall before the disconnector allows the gun to fire.
Yeah.
It
shouldn't.
Is the hammer just following?
Yeah, it'd be hammer. It'd be hammer.
It's kind of like a hammer follow. It must be.
It shouldn't be able to do it, but I can do it with 2011s. I can do it with apparently with this Beretta too. But it's a lot of fun. But that's when I'm really, really trying to rip shots off as fast as I can.
And you're tuned in, and you're all set up perfectly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
And
that shotgun is an absolute.
You've got that on your Waypoint Training Instagram page, right?
Yeah.
We should link that. We should link that up. I'm going to link that up. That because it's kind of cool. You're like, son of a gun, that thing ran. Because you don't believe it, right? Oh, I did it 138. And I'm like, oh no. There's video, and there's a clock.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the funny thing about that is like it still takes like a couple of tries to like get everything to go. So you got to get like the gun to work properly. You got to get like the finger to work properly at the same time, and then when it comes together, it just goes. Because Jared tried to get 6 shots in a row. It's like the first one, it was just like, all right, so something like hicked up the last one, he outran it, and then it's just like to get like the perfect sync of both of those takes like something to come together to get it. It's like he did.
You're not supposed to tell us that, Tom. You're supposed to say it happened like this. Every
it happened like this.
Time.
I've literally.
So that must be perfect.
We did it 3 times, I think.
Yes.
The first time, my cadence was off because it was the first time I shot the shotgun, and so I got into it a little bit more. The second time is when I outran the shotgun and had a 12 split, and after the 12 split, it was just like meh, and stopped. And then the third time, I got in that Goldilocks zone and was just able to rip out some 13s and 14s, and it performs admirably in those conditions.
Yeah, I've literally seen Jared not be able to do like the 6-shot bill drills because he's outrunning whatever he's supposed to be shooting. It's kind of stupid. But like the first time is like I give that like you start your hand starts tensioning up. It's like because you're shooting a 12 gauge shotgun as fast as you can with number 1 buck at it. And it's like, yeah, your hand would like start to tense up, and then it's just like his hand relaxed. He starts ripping it, and then it's like too relaxed. Gun can't do it, and then it's just like and slow it down just a hair, and then it ran.
Well, and it certainly helps that Beretta is just a uniquely well built gun. They did a good job.
It's a cool shotgun.
Yeah,
it is a cool shotgun.
Which shotgun?
You should have seen
Beretta 1300.
It's a Beretta 1301, but I have the
LTT.
Langdon Tactical Edition. So basically, Ernest Langdon did a couple basic mods to it and to make it more Gucci and more fun. Added a stock, added a foregrip, did a little stuff to the trigger, and it's an absolute blast of a shotgun. That I shot that for the first time probably about a month ago. A friend had one, and we were comparing that and the new A300 Ultimate Patrol, and because he bought both of them, and we were playing with them, and we're like, damn, these are fun. But that, like the A300 Ultimate Patrol is a nice shotgun. Very, very nice. It's a great soft shooting. I really liked it. But this Langdon, when I picked it up and shot it, it was just like picking up Excalibur. And I'm just like, yep, we're buying this because this is awesome. It's the first gun I've shot in probably years where, like the first time you shoot a gun and you just have a massive grin on your face and you're just like, hell yeah, I want this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened with it. So I waited and got on the email list from Langdon, and then they posted up a drop, and I ordered one and got it. And now I've just been playing with it, and it's been an absolute blast.
Did you get the aim point on it at that point?
Yeah, I found locally, actually. I was planning on just being a pour and putting a Holosun, like a 503G, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, 503 or 403 or 515.
One of the aim point ripoffs. And so I actually ordered one of those. But then a local guy posted up an aim point T1 for sale, and I'm like, yes. So I grabbed that, and now it's all Gucci'd out. And so it's got an aim point. It's a very expensive shotgun. But I'm actually happy that I have a shotgun to actually compete with, because I haven't really ever owned a shotgun, because I've shot all of them. I mean, I've shot open shotguns. I've shot the Dissidents. I've shot the Benellis, the M2s, the M4s, the M1s. I've tried everybody's shotgun at all these matches. And I haven't played with one that I was really like over the moon with. The M2s are super nice, and they're nice guns, but none of them shot like this gun, where it was just like, this is an absolute hoot. And I think Tom can attest to that, because Tom got to play with it a little bit yesterday, and the first time he tried to rip off 6 shots as fast as he could.
You look a little bruised there, Thomas.
Tommy.
I see a little red mark.
Between the lawnmower and the shotgun, man, you just got wrecked.
He had the biggest grin on his face.
I mean, it's a blast, but I always get these bruises, even if I'm just dry firing a rifle. And so when you actually shoot the shotgun, it kind of does it. But like I shot like 23 splits with a thing, just on a piece of steel, and it is. Gosh, it is like, there's not a lot of bullets in this death machine, but this is a freaking death machine. Like, you're like, this thing is awesome. And so you just...
Yeah, well, if Jared dumps a bill drill into a bad guy, they're not going to be picking up bad guy. They're going to be picking up pieces.
That's 6 times 15 pellets.
Well, I was literally, Alex goes to shoot some stuff, and he goes over to another target. He's like, can we please not obliterate the still serviceable targets, for the love of God? Can you just shoot the target you just shot? There's literally 15 pieces of steel over here. Can you, let's just not tear apart my targets for the whims of them. But we ended up shooting some T-Rex drills like we normally like to do, and then I got some progress on my draw from appendix, shoot 2 shots. And so we're getting there. I got two 1.11s, a 1.15, and my first one was like a 1.21.
Good job, Tommy.
I forget where the other one is. So we are literally in the thing. We're at the point where I can't physically draw the gun faster, because I think I drew like a 8.3 and an 8.6 from appendix. It is my splits. My fastest split was a 21. I cannot. If I could hook up one Jared step split, I got 2 shots in under a second from appendix.
You can do it, Tommy.
Yeah, and so it's now becoming a deliberate concentration on working splits, because that's
just split faster.
Yeah, and that's the issue of trying to teach myself how to split faster.
The hardest thing. This is what is it? That guy's name, like Richard Bannister or whatever. The guy who broke the 4-minute mile.
Roger Bannister.
This is one of those situations, Tommy, where you say, I can't do this until you do it. And then when you do it, you're like, I now know I can do it.
Yeah.
And I just have confirmation. So basically just go stand at the side of a berm and just torch off a handful of rounds.
Can you split the gun that fast, given like an ideal situation, not a full strength grip with your firing hand, kind of a loose firing hand grip? Can you just touch them off that fast?
In my literally just trying to split as fast as I can, the fastest I could ever do is like maybe a 19, and I can't do that on demand. Like it's just
you can. But that's the thing though. You can hit. So you can hit the 19, and if you know you can hit a 19, then all you need to do is hit the 19, and as you hit the 19 consistently, you'll find that you start hitting 17s.
Yep.
And there will be a point where you like your finger just can't do it. Admittedly, Jared is kind of a rarity in this world to rip splits like that. But people self-limit themselves. And I only say this because I was in the same exact situation, and John Batista, he's like, no, you can. I've seen you do it. And so as soon as your mind allows you to believe that it's possible, then you start to figure out how to set yourself up to make that reality or that situation become
Jared,
reality?
When you're ripping those crazy fast splits, what does your grip feel like? Strong hand, weak hand, trigger finger. What's your tension level, grip strength?
So typically the majority of my grip comes from my left hand. The actual crush on the gun comes from the meaty portion right here on my support hand pressing inwards. My fingers are also squeezing, but not really that hard. The majority of my grip comes from the inward torque. And then my right hand is actually kind of doing the same thing. It's having that inward torque. But grip strength, I really don't do a whole lot with my right hand.
Yeah, because
everything is just this.
The more tension you put in your firing hand, the less quickly you can move your trigger finger, right?
Right. And so for me, most of my grip comes from those two camming action.
Okay.
It's the TPC
and that's the
grip.
Ron Avery thing.
Yeah, the Ron Avery, the Nutcracker grip, whatever you want to call it. But it's that I have those 45-degree essentially camming, squishing the gun. So majority of my grip is actually coming from that wrist lock.
And you kind of teach that in your class, right?
Yeah, no, and that's what I go a lot of, or just in just the class, because most people, it's hilarious in some of these classes where most people have literally never gripped a gun correctly. Mm-hmm. And then when you actually show them the correct way to do it, and then they shoot it, and the sight goes bang, and then the sight comes back, and they're like, "What?"
It's right where I left it.
Tommy,
yeah,
would I be?
Like, that's what's supposed to happen.
Tommy, would I be correct in saying that a lot of your grip is based around what you learned with Mossad?
Yeah, it's all that stuff that I had for years, which was very accurate, and so it's very hard to that. The other issue I've worked on that. The other issue is trying to do it from appendix, because when you draw from appendix, grabbing the gun from this position and lifting it up, and then meeting a hand and then shooting, there's not a lot of tension that you can literally have to stay in good control of the firearm. Appendix is different, because when you draw from appendix, you have to literally maintain like a muzzle awareness as it comes up, and so you actually, as it comes up, you actually kind of grip more on the bottom. So as you grip it up, grip more, because you have to have a good control of the pistol, and then when you come out, it becomes a little bit harder to do.
Why do you have tape over your dot, Tom?
So I can learn to shoot. I'm not shooting like this. It is just so I can get used to staying target focused the entire time.
Are you not doing that right now? I mean, obviously, because you've got a piece of tape over it, or so you're struggling with that, right?
I don't know if I'm struggling with it or not.
But
if I do this for like a week, making myself stay target focused, when I go not to target focused, I'll know if I'm doing it.
Gotcha.
So it's just kind of one of those things where it's just trying to correct a bunch of little things. I even got this little. Me and Jared were talking about this on the way home. A metronome.
Oh, that's your splits. That's a Steve Anderson thing. The metronome.
Yeah, literally. And
you got to work on that cadence.
It's like you want to shoot 6 in a second, do 350 beats per minute with 6 bars or 6 beats, and then see what you can get there. And it's yeah. So just trying to get that to run without adding the tension while trying to get the grip, because the draws, I can be consistently under a second on a draw. No problem. That is not an issue from appendix being that quick on it. It is trying to squeeze a good draw
shot
and give me an 8-2 draw and give me a 17 split, and I got it.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm. No dick squeezy.
And is there a conflict between the grip strength and strong hand pressure you're using, drawing the gun and bringing it up, and then having enough looseness in your strong hand
to relax it?
Pop up,
to like relax it to fire it.
Trigger finger.
Yeah, because it's like you kind of grab in there, and it's just very hard to, once you get that. There's not a lot of time to get your hand from your shirt, grab that, because the other part with appendix is, if you do not maintain the shirt as you come up, you will mistime it because the window is very small, as that you will let go of the shirt and then grab a piece of the shirt as you come up. And so you got to come grab it, maintain control, and so your shirt's kind of up a little bit higher, and then you break off. But this already has a pretty decent grip, and then as you build your grip together as you come out, you are essentially, as you come out and you build out, like you're squeezing this in, And so it's like I'm squeezing hard on one side to get that hand to give me some sort of recoil control. And like you're trying to relax your dominant hand at the same time you're squeezing the outside of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that gotta go on in a short period of time.
That's where Jared's TPC grip actually really kind of helps, because by the time when you start torquing those hands or camming those things in, I have noticed that pinky middle and pinky ring middle inherently start to loosen up a little bit, because it allows you to cam that gun in there, and it makes it so I can shoot the gun faster.
Yep, and believe me,
that's my observation. I could be wrong, but
that's
what I've noticed.
It's not an issue. Give me 2 steps. Give me a heels on back start bar, and then draw, then go somewhere and start shooting. That's not the issue. It's like when you're trying to shoot the ragged edge of it, like 2 shots under second from concealment, it gets RUFF, rough. Yeah. It's a dog day.
Yep.
Steven.
I went out to the match at the farm that UDPL put on. Jen Jolly had some new stage designers out there, which did a pretty good job.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Surprisingly good job for new stage designers. They slightly overestimated people's ability to hit some targets at distance, which was really, really fun for me because I can hit targets at distance. Although I rolled up to the first stage. I rolled up to the first stage and I'm like, I can just blast this plate rack off. And I'm like, I'm like, wait a minute. I just sprayed 4 into the dirt. Like, oh, I guess I am going to have to look at my sights and squeeze the trigger properly to hit these. But then we got down to the last stage. My son Steven came with me, who hasn't shot in 10 years and shot amazingly well for having not shot in a decade.
Did he shoot his Glock 19 that he won?
No, I sold that one off without his permission.
Oh.
Paying some of his fees or something.
Yeah, the last match that I remember him at was at it was the 2013
Idaho?
state championship.
Yeah, that might have been the one where he won the Glock 19.
It is the one where he did, yeah.
So the very last stage, we had like 51 rounds to complete the stage, and it was like a 28 round stage. So we had 51 rounds between the two of us. I'm like, you just shoot it however you want, and I'll just shoot whatever's left. And some guy in our squad gave me a magazine to finish up the stage, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna shoot this at the speed I want to, and I'm talking. They had those 2-inch or maybe 3-inch hex targets at like 16 yards. And I'm telling you,
nice.
It was. So I rolled in the last position. I went 5 for 6 at those little hex targets, and I missed one other shot on the whole stage. But it was challenging. But it's kind of fun to see that because a new stage design. UDPL is in the habit of just making everything quite easy to shoot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fun for new shooters, but it's not very fun for more experienced shooters because we're like, oh man, we're just gonna throw 200 rounds at things that are easy to hit today. It's like I'd like at least a couple stages that challenge me. I'd like at least 25% of these shots to be challenging.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But they had that yesterday by virtue of the new stage designers that are like, hey, I'm just gonna throw some stuff out here, and
they didn't know not to make things hard, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really quite fun.
After the match, the old guys took him out back.
Oh, you should have heard the OGs on my squad. I was on the squad with all the old guys, and they're like, we all finished on the hard stage in the Gulch, and they're like, nothing about this stage do I find fun. Like, okay, well, I do.
Well, you guys are almost dead, and we want this club to survive, so decisions.
That's the one thing is like, it's like you can set up the shooting challenge, and then it's just like, oh, this will be all right, and then you go back there and you act like, you set it up. You have your red dot handgun. You're building the stage on Friday night or whatever. You take out your red dot handgun, you aim, and you shoot it, and you knock it down. It's like, oh yeah, people can make this shot. And then it's just like, try that shit on the timer. See how well that works out for everybody. Yeah. But there's one thing I like about...
And it was a lot of steel shooting. So sometimes you get people, those 2-inch pieces of steel at 17 yards, and they're going 4 or 5 for 1 hit out at those kind of targets. So can be a little demoralizing. If it was paper or something, or if that was just a smaller fraction of the stage, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But it was still fun.
That's
okay. What about you,
though.
Robert?
I spent the week doing all this, involved in all this drama with Yee-Min. So that was fun. That was fun. It was just I didn't have a match this week, and Tommy and we recorded 2 shows during the middle of the week, and that was a lot of fun. but the drama with USPSA just never seems to stop, does it?
And I go ahead, Jared.
Sorry, I will say, what's the Area 3 guy's name?
Scott Arnberg.
Scott? He seemed like a good dude. I liked him a lot. I listened to the podcast, and I really like his methodology on building matches and treating the ROs well and doing all that. Everything he said, I thought was really, really good about how he runs those matches.
I mean, he sounds like an amazing leader. Like, I would like to live near him and be on his crew.
Yep.
It sounds like a good team, good squad.
Yeah. No, that sounded really, really good. I was really impressed with that. So props to you, Scott.
I think Area 3 has a really good director working with him. I mean, it helps that the guy actually knows finances. That's certainly the thing. But the dude, he's been a volunteer for a long dang time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a very great conversation on the air, what you guys heard, and a very great conversation off the air, talking to him about things. He's a well-spoken and very reasonable and ethical person.
Yeah, that's my take on it.
So,
but
I was wondering, so many of these Yee-Min facts kind of come in little pieces, and it's kind of hard to connect them all. I was wondering if we could do like a little review for 5 minutes.
Sure.
Ask.
So there was, now, I'll tell you what I remember, and then you tell me what I'm missing. And we don't have to get it 100% correct, but fill in my gaps. So Yee-Min somebody filed an RO report against him because he was doing a handful of things that were like that ROs aren't supposed to do. He wasn't like cheating or not. He wasn't calling things incorrectly, but he was being too casual and not following some of the range officer rules, right?
Think of like a level 1 bro culture. Everybody's joking around kind of thing.
Right. He wasn't giving doubles to his friends and not giving to other people, or he wasn't DQing the people he doesn't like.
100% correct.
He was just being too casual and breaking a few of the things in the RO.
He failed to read the written. Yeah, he failed to read the written stage brief verbatim, which, is
right.
It's kind of a loose interpretation of what verbatim is, but
so due to the consequences of that, Troy reached some ruling, and we don't know exactly what's in that report, right? Because it's not public. The RO, or do you know what's in it? Have you got a copy of it? I guess Yee-Min has a copy of it, and if it's his, he can distribute
do it what he wants.
I don't think he shared it with anyone.
I don't think he did either.
Okay, so that's still private, but we know that Troy has pulled his RO card.
Yes.
Which because of the way the rules are written in USPSA, if you're not an RO, you can't be.
You cannot. If you're not an RO, you cannot be a board member or the USPSA president, and that was the bylaw that was changed in the last go round.
Oh, so that is a recent change.
It's a recent change. Yeah.
Okay, and so
you can run for office.
Is he not the USPSA president right now because of that rule?
That's an interesting thing because, short answer, he's not the USPSA president right now. That's the short answer.
But if the appeal goes through and the appeal goes his way, then he would be reinstated.
He's reinstated. The more complicated answer is that he's kind of suspended. And so Donna and Rick Brotzel thought it would be a good idea to remove his name and cut off his access on the website and through the organization, which seems like
okay. So he hasn't been outright removed. There's some intermittent.
No, he's still a paid employee of the organization.
Okay.
A paid part-time employee of the organization.
That was my question. Is he paid?
Yes.
There was
the USPSA president is paid.
It seems like there was a time where they thought he was no longer going to be, so they cut off all his access and were just like, "You're done, goodbye." And then other logic stepped in, and other stuff was reinstated.
Okay. Are there any other like big salient facts?
Well, there's
like he didn't kick a baby or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
There's the issue. I mean, if we just stay solely on Yee-Min, recently it's come out that Minter Danny Minter was the range master who filed the report after he couldn't get any of the ROs to file it for him, and he was so basically he was actively trying to get anybody to file it. When that didn't happen, he decided to file it himself, and as the reporting goes, he made a claim, but today it's been released by Derek over at Practical Shooting that the match director, I think the match director is effectively saying that Minter's lying. Match director or somebody. There's now contradicting reports that Danny Minter is lying.
Done.
And that the ROs that Danny Minter went and talked to says you need to file this report. It was done under a dubious, do I actually have to or not? And it appears that Minter said, "Oh no, you have to," but they came up with this sexual harassment thing, which has now been refuted by the people who.
Sexual harassment by who towards who?
That's still up in the air.
But this isn't part of the RO complaint.
Oh no, this is what they're trying to lump into the why he was removed.
Wait, question. I thought the sexual harassment thing was him yelling "alpha dick" at people.
That's the interesting question, because it sounds like is that the Minters are the ones who made the claim of sexual harassment, but then the witness who they used
for their statement
is like, no, I want nothing to do with this. This didn't happen. And so basically it really appears that Danny Minter is lying, and he's doing it for some reason that we can only guess.
Lying, saying Yee-Min didn't say alpha dick, or
no, he's lying
that he did.
Lying, and he's making up things. There's the one.
I've never heard anyone
example.
say alpha dick.
Well, there are some things.
It sounds like something I would say.
I would totally say that.
There are some things.
Although now we're all just going to start calling it Alpha Troy.
There are some things that in the statements that Yee-Min apparently said, yeah, I did that. You're right. Eating, calling it alpha dick, whatever, joking around, being with his friends. But there was also, let's say, icing on top of the cake that was added, and they try to get people to corroborate to. And the people who corroborated on written form now say, well, that didn't happen, and I'm pulling my name off of this. I'm not going along with it.
But Troy McManus is, as part of his investigation into a RO complaint, is supposed to talk to people and make his own decision, right?
Yeah.
So
and that's the problem.
RMIs.
Is the RMIs made a decision, and by all accounts, Troy McManus decided to escalate above the RMI's recommendation to a full revocation of his RO certification.
Okay.
And basically, according to Derek, the stuff that he put up, he said sexual harassment was never mentioned or alleged by the individual. However, alleged sexual harassment by Yee-Min was discussed in the executive session during the last board meeting. And so the people who made the claim, Yee-Min, didn't get any information about that, and this was only showed up afterwards. He was never told about this claim being made against him.
Okay.
And it says that Danny Minter at the match told the ROs, he said the ROs were confused if they actually had to submit a complaint against Yee-Min per Minter's instructions. So Minter basically said, you have to file this complaint.
The other thought I had, this is a little bit off topic, but the other thought I've had is that when I've RO'd level 2 matches and when I did IDPA Nationals, there's not a lot of stuff to do. Like, you pretty much have to kind of keep your mouth shut. You read the thing.
Right.
There's a time period where you can answer questions, and then you just give the range commands, and you're pretty much kind of a robot there.
Yeah.
Which makes the kind of the whole RO experience. You're not supposed to be like super chummy buddy like this.
Yeah.
Treating people differently. You're supposed to give the range commands, call the shooter to the line, you may be able to give a couple little comments here and there. Nice job, well done. But you're not. Yeah. Anyway,
you're not.
It's kind of a robotic position to some extent.
Sure. No, and Steve, that makes sense. But I mean, like you'll have people that will come up that especially in the case of like Yee-Min, like you'll have people that come up and they've seen you at other matches and things like that, and they're your friends and stuff like that, and so you're always going to be friendly, and you should be. You should, as a range officer, you should be friendly with all the competitors. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, once it's time to make ready, business face comes on.
Right, and you stop chatting,
and you call it straight.
You keep them silence while you're going through the range commands.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, that's how you should do it. And I don't think that was the complaint against him in that regard. Well, it was that he failed to read the written stage brief verbatim, and that's an interesting claim to make, and one that really comes back to this idea that the range master should be working with the CRO and the RO in this regard, but Minter never did. He just waited until the match was over and then decided to file the complaint.
Yeah, because is he the guy that has a beef with Yee-Min?
Yes.
So there's some people that don't like somebody, and so they're not going to try and address it locally. They're going to try and rattle. They're going to try and make some political hay out of it, right?
It seems very much that the board of directors could possibly
corrupt.
Well, yeah, could get. There's a section of it's the board of directors that there's a very corrupt side, and they have like a kind of a bare majority here, and there is any way to remove a vote from the kind of clear and transparent side, they are willing to use political games and back alley rules to try to remove those votes.
Speaking of which, it seems that according to the reporting that happened, Leighton Ustenhausen, Steen, whatever, the Area 2 director, broke the 10.2, the bylaws 10.2, by talking in a section. He has a section coordinators meeting, and it sounds like he told the section coordinators all what was going on, which is a violation of 10.2. So now you have an area director that's violating 10.2, in addition to the area director that is also not an RO, although it comes to find out Mel Rodero actually went up to, I think, Montana this weekend to get his RO card.
Certification before any sort of meeting held on it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because Mel Rodero should not actually be in office per the bylaws. That's fair, right? I mean, this is what the bylaws say. And the problem that you have right now is you have a board of directors who has essentially said, we know what the bylaws say, we don't agree. And from that standpoint,
hold on. Not that they don't agree.
Oh yeah,
they are selective in how they enforce it. So Yee-Min doesn't have an RO certification because it gets revoked without like hearing the appeal first or whatever. Instead of a suspension, they basically try to remove him from the org. Mel Rodero does not have his RO certification for months, and they're like, well, try to figure something out, or saying that the board voted on such issue, saying that, oh, we'll give him time to figure out, even though that's illegal by the bylaws, and then other members of the board going like, we never heard any of that.
Yeah, here's the bullshit thing about the Mel Rodero situation, is that Mel Rodero when there's the Area 3 director, runoff, Scott and Luke Faust, when they actually entered into the runoff, Luke Faust, I understand he flew all the way to California to take an RO class just in case he were to win.
Against Mel Rodero.
So that he could be the thing. And so you have poor Luke Faust, who's done nothing wrong, did everything right, and on his own dime, and then Area 4 is just like, it's not going to happen. And so by all rights and accounts, Area 4 should now be forced into a special election. He should be removed from there, and he can run again. There's no problem with that. But he should be removed per the bylaws. And to be really honest with you, any board director that doesn't vote to uphold that part of the bylaws, they should be removed from office because they're not upholding the fiduciary responsibilities of the board of directors.
Well, you just have to see it like this. The bylaws will be manipulated and moved, and people will be removed or held based off of, does it help the bare majority's ability to keep a vote? Because the last thing that one side of the board of directors wants to have happen is lose a governing majority, and then stuff starts getting straightened up and opened up and looked at.
But it's concerning because you have this board of directors who, I mean, it's just put it out there. If any of these board of directors vote in any way that does not remove Area 4 from the board of directors, then you have options. You can either force a vote that they should be removed as a board of director, but at a bare minimum, all of those names need to be recorded. And then when they come up for vote for the next area director, they need out. They need to be gone because they're clearly acting in their own interest and not in the interest of the company.
So how can you remove board members? They can be removed during an election, right?
An election through, what is it, 7.7? I can't remember exactly. Basically, if the board member fails to uphold the duties of their office, and
who removes them? The rest of the board?
That can they can be removed. They can be removed. Yeah.
By the rest of the board, or who?
Yeah, by the rest of the board.
Okay, so you'd have to piss off enough of the board that they would vote one of their members out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a political organization, right?
Oh, it's 100% political.
Right.
So and right now we're seeing that
if you got a majority of friends, then they're not going to vote each other out.
Correct.
Exactly.
If you let's say that you had like a governing majority here, and then you were also in charge of holding the director of operations job, or maybe the director of NROI, their job, because they're voted in and held, their job is held by the board, and then you get to send them out as your sword and your shield, and they protect your job by removing people with the wrong political views within USPSA, and then you keep their job by keeping a bare majority.
Crazy,
so,
right?
As soon as a bare majority moves off, one side of the organization loses its weapons against the dissidents, which is non-elected positions. So it's very interesting that they get to use, that they are basically using non-elected positions to go out and do dirty work, and then they just keep their jobs because they hold their bare majority. So
yeah, and if it wasn't for like Derek at Practical Shooting Insights and a handful of other people actually reporting, a lot of this stuff would go under the radar and nobody would ever see it. And I mean, there's been people that have been screaming about it for a long time, but yeah, I mean, now we finally listen, which sucks, but now you listen.
Well, do we have time for any questions?
We do, if you want to.
No, I'm fine. No, screw those kids.
Okay.
Anyways,
we can do that too.
Well, anyways, head on over to Dominate Defense. Get yourself a Dominate Defense belt, Mach 1 speed belt, the best belt in the industry. Check out their carry belts. All of them are fantastic belts. You will like them. It's a great setup because the best thing is you put on the carry belt, link it on, and then you simply slide it to the right. It goes through the loops, and then you get like this clean piece of thin belt that you can literally mount all your appendix stuff, because I got my T-Rex set up, and then I have, when I compete, a spare JM custom inside the waistband magazine pouch that holds the magazine up high and is very stable. And it's just like, and I got a clean belt to work it off of.
And people will just think you have a tummy.
Yeah, just a slight tummy, but it's just like,
what are they called? The colostomy bags?
Yeah, the colostomy bags. I was sitting there messing around, and I was just like, I was literally shooting, and I was like, oh, I got two 23-round magazines. Well, one of them was a 24-round magazine, thanks to Head on Room Tactical. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off. And so it's just like, I got 3 extended magazines clipped underneath this shirt, and I'm competing with it, and it's a good setup. And that Dominate Defense belt really makes it work for me. So check out them. Also, Precision Holsters. Check out a fast holster. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off of that. Telegram, questions, answers, maybe, go.
Let's see, from Shot Edmonds. What do you guys do for long-term storage of guns?
I mean, it's very easy.
We're in Utah,
here.
and
I sell them to other people.
So you just do whatever you want. True. They don't rust.
what about in wet climates? Humid, right? Humid climates.
Yeah, I don't know. I imagine you'd use some desiccant stuff, or you'd use some more oil. You'd rub them down with those silicone rags a little more. There's those gun sleeves that are kind of like silicone impregnated.
Oh yeah, like the clean bore sleeves.
Cosmoline, yeah.
Hey, it's worked for the Russians for the past 100 years. It'll work.
Here's a Jeep. It's packed in Cosmoline.
Yeah, it's here like
you don't have to do anything.
You can put it on a towel and pour water on it,
and the water's just going to dry off.
You're still fine. Okay. You're still okay.
That was the other thing I used one of those goldenrod dehumidifiers in my safe for years, which is basically just a little heater that just warms the air up a little bit to push you away to reduce the relative humidity. I don't know if those would have an impact if you're in Louisiana or Mississippi or something like that, but I don't know. I imagine do 2 or 3 things like that and find out what works.
The only time you
don't leave them in the garage. How about you keep them in the house? That would probably have a big impact.
Well, put them in a big Mylar bag and then put a bunch of that desiccant stuff in there and seal it up.
Well, here's the issue with Utah is you actually run into problems with the stuff that's supposed to protect it from the elements. So if you have like an ammo can and you get a little bit of moisture in that, here in Utah, that's actually worse than just leaving the ammo can open. Because our dry air will basically remove all the stuff. Like you go out there shooting in the rain, you're like, I have my ammo can open. Put your ammo can in the garage, leave the freaking door, the lid open.
The lid open.
You're fine. Seal the lid, you're screwed.
You're screwed.
Get a bag, put stuff into it. Little bit of moisture gets in there. You're more screwed than if you had just put it in the safe here. That's
right.
But also, when we're shooting a match and we spit on the ground, it's basically gone before it hits the dirt. So you kind of dry out a little quick out here. So give and takes. Give and takes.
Let's see. Pour a drink for Alec Mansfield. He lost his corgi. That sucks.
Oh,
I'm sorry, man. Corgis are awesome.
I have 2 half corgis.
Oh,
that makes a whole corgi.
I know. One's a half corgi, half Pomeranian, and the other is a half corgi, half mini Australian Shepherd.
Well, you should loan him one.
They're both spazzes.
They are, but they're really cute dogs. So
they are cute.
Let's see. Who is your favorite pocket knife manufacturer? Same for fixed blades.
Benchmade.
Yeah,
been a Benchmade man since somebody taught me the woodsman's first rule.
Benchmade.
I was losing knives at the rate of like 1 every 3 months, like you do before you know the woodsman's first rule. And a friend of mine is like, you've lost some knives? I was like, well, how do you lose your knife? It's like, I don't know. He's like, and then he watched me do something, and I like cut something and then set the knife on the top of my car. And he's like, that's how you lose your knife.
That's how you get it. The first
rule is when you're done using the knife, you fold it back up and you put it in your pocket. You don't set it down ever, and you'll never lose a knife. And I've not lost this knife since. Been like 17, 20 years or something.
Yeah,
I think
I like mine to get torn out by seatbelt.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Tommy,
get
me
them
too.
flicked out.
Yeah, you put on a seatbelt 200 times in a day, and it can get there. But
you take the little clippy, the clip thingy, just get rid of it.
Well, that's
just let it sit all the way down in the pocket. I know it's not as
weird,
fast,
but the my favorite knife is a Spyderco Tenacious. Alex Went says you get Spyderco Tenacious, and it's basically your average pocket knife. It's like $60, $70. Spyderco hole on the top. You flick it open, and it's great quality knife. You can do everything with it, and if you lose it, you only lost a $70 knife. Now that I've fallen in love with Spyderco knives, and I've gotten used to this, you can put it in all different positions. Very easy, very quick. Even it's not even assisted opening; it's very quick to open. I wouldn't mind in the future spending $350 on a nice Spyderco. I really like the knife. It seems to work very well for me.
I kind of feel like there are just different tiers. So like the basic, the lowest is like Kershaw. Kershaw makes very
and CRKT,
cheap but very good knives. Yeah, CRKT, they make cheap but good. A little bit above that, you got Spyderco, and then I really like a little bit above that, there's a company called Scallywag Tactical, and they make a knife called the Privateer, which is a super cool, good knife, and I carried that for about 3 years. And then I just got a Benchmade, actually, and I've started carrying that. And for fixed blades, there's a million options. And I would honestly just say go find a custom knife maker that you like and give them some money.
Fixed blade designs are always so cool that you're always just like, why isn't my lifestyle conducive to carrying around this big 5-inch?
A fixed blade is like a Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum. It's great to have and to look at, but it's practically useless.
Well, where a fixed blade really comes into play and has a lot of value is if you're, well, no, but yes, outdoors, like backcountry stuff, because you can use a fixed blade to for chopping wood, stuff like that. There's a lot of value there. But around town,
for 15 years, I brought a Benchmade. I brought a fixed blade knife camping with me, and like I never used it. I just never had reason to use it.
Like the best fixed blade knife I ever bought was a $15 Mora knife, and I have used that thing every single time I go camping.
Oh, good.
I just use it tons. So different strokes.
To be fair, though, Robert also kills a lot of hobos.
This is factually correct.
Hey, that's Robert's definition of camping. I'll be down at the railroad tracks.
If hobos wouldn't be on the off-ramp, I wouldn't have to kill them.
Urban camping.
If they weren't so close to an escape route, there'd be less dead. I got one of those Gerber LMF2s like back a long time ago, like 2005. I was like, oh, this is a cool knife. And I'll tell you what, that thing I have actually used for, like people are like, oh, we don't have any tinder or kindling. And it's just like, why are you guys looking for tinder and kindling? And they're like, so for the fire is like, you take your knife and then you just start whacking it and just like shredding off pieces of a log. He's like, look at that. It's all here. And that's really cool because that knife it's trashy enough because it's a Gerber, but it's like still well made enough that, it's an $80 knife or whatever that you can still beat the hell out of and it still feels great. Yeah, there's a bird flying around. Anyways.
SE knives are really good for camping. ESEE.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic fixed blades.
But
and they're relatively cheap.
You get some like cool, stylish $200 flip fixed blade and you're just like, I don't want to.
Yeah, you want it to be cheap enough. You're not afraid to hit the back of it with a hammer.
Yeah. I got this.
No.
That's why you get a Mora knife. $15.
Yeah.
And the thing it's a Scandi still. It's perfect.
You're gonna buy the same Wakizashi that they just implemented in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. You're gonna get a custom built by Ryan Winkler, and it's gonna be bitchin'.
And in 75 years, you will still not used it once.
For $700.
Well, in 75 years, when you hand it to somebody in life, it's like, all right, that's a knife.
They'll have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't appreciate it. Like, give me that back.
Which is interestingly, I was in Hawaii. I had brought my Cold Steel SRK to Hawaii a couple of years ago, and my nephew was there. And I was like, you know what? I've had this knife for 12 years, and I've taken it with me to 34 places and never used it once. Here, why don't you enjoy this knife?
That's like red dots I have in the closet. Like when my neighbor came over and he had like that 308 that had that steel case, and I had to take that rat tail fire and knock it off. I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I want to get these parts anyway. And then it's just like, gosh, you have such a trash optic. And then I was like, here you go. Here's like this primary arms red dot. It's pretty decent. Made by Holosun. Take it. Yeah, you go use it.
Last question from Moisha. Last year, I attended several matches that had stages based on the movie Heat. What other movie scenes might have good scenarios for stages? What's the one with
Tom Hanks? What's the Tom
Cruise?
Hanks movie that?
Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks?
Cruise.
Tom Hanks.
That would be Saving Private Ryan.
I think it's
we're not going to reenact.
I think it's that new one where he's the old man in the neighborhood with the couple who's trying to get him out of a depression.
Yeah, where he's trying to hang himself and he's trying to shoot himself and.
Yeah, let's not make that a statement.
Yeah,
what was the Tom Cruise
Collateral.
movie? You talking to me, homie?
Yeah, yo, homie, is that my briefcase? Yeah,
so there's been a bunch of.
Yeah.
That briefcase scene has been the root of many a stage.
There's a better scene in that movie that's good for a stage, which is the when Tom Cruise is in the nightclub, and like he gets interdicted by a bunch of the guy's bodyguards. He ends up killing like 6 or 7 bodyguards and shooting the guy with his USP. But there's one point where like a bunch of guys grab him and he takes an out the front, I think Benchmade out, like 2004 or 5 Benchmade out the front knife, and then he like stabs one of them in the arm. He pulls the guy, like goes back, then he takes out his USP and smokes the guy. That's a pretty good scene if you're gonna do it. What is another good scene? Say another good shootout scene.
There's a fun one, because I actually looked into this because I was going to start doing some matches at my cop match based on movies. There's one on Rambo. I can't remember which Rambo, but there's like 7 or 8 bad dudes on a boat.
Oh yeah, so like the Rambo 2008 or whatever.
And
yeah,
he has to draw and go, ga, 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 and he shoots like 7 dudes in, I think it was, I had the time written down because I went and actually found the scene, timed it from his draw to when he fired all 7 shots, and be like, okay, can you beat Rambo? He did this in 7.6 seconds, or 2.5 seconds, whatever it was. That was a fun one.
There's some fun gunplay in the movie that's in the theaters right now, Covenant, that Guy Ritchie movie.
Oh, did you see it? How was that?
Yeah, I saw it last night. It's pretty fun. I think you'll like it quite a bit. It's mostly rifle gunplay, although there is some pistol gunplay. He smokes a few people with suppressed pistol.
Yeah.
Out of the back of a truck. It'd be kind of fun. And yeah, you'll enjoy that movie. I think everyone would probably enjoy that movie. It's very well made, very feel-good movie.
Good times movie. Yeah, well, I got sucked into Dungeons and Dragons, and we saw Super Mario 2 weeks in a row. So that's what we went out and saw.
We watched Dungeons and Dragons last night. It was really good. It was a fun, good summer movie. Just a fun.
We got a 9:50 showtime. I had my wife pick up tickets for 9:50 showtimes, and I ended up punching out like 3 o'clock. Well, 2 o'clock in the morning. Got home, couldn't sleep till like 3:30, and like when you're just staring at freeway headlights for endless amounts of times, and then you have like your glare of like your instrument panel and your little IVIS thing, my little bore that's shining lights in my eyes, like my eyes were bloodshot red and just like dying, and then I was just like, yeah. So I got up, we went there, saw the movie, and it was like I was having a good time, and I was like enjoying it, but like my eyes were just like, when you're officially tired, it's like every taillight has a streak. Every taillight's streaky, and I'm just like looking.
You now have an astigmatism.
Yeah, you're like looking at the streaky movie, and like water's just pouring out of my eyes. It's like, no, I'm not emotionally touched here. I'm just, I'm really having a thing.
I'm breaking down.
Yeah, I got these blue light glasses just for night drives. Yeah, Peaches. Yeah, the Super Mario one was a fun movie. Like it's literally like 80 minutes long, and it goes by like that. But like they talk about a nostalgia machine. Like they literally, they like jump off and they get on like a spoiler alert, everybody. They get on like the Rainbow Road from Mario Kart, and you're just like, all right, well, okay, I remember that when I was 8. All right, that's okay. They're playing the song, and it's kind of like touching little parts of my heart, but that's okay. It's whatever. It's a kids movie. And then like you literally get to the end of they.
I'm not crying.
They touch the star, and they start playing the star music, and they have it, in the whole orchestra thing, and it's just like Nintendo is very good at making the old stuff like more elaborate and fun because it scales up. Like if you have like an old Disney thing, like Disney already starts off with the orchestra, and so there's not really anywhere to go. But when you go from like 8-bit chip tunes, and then they like fill it out with the entire orchestra, and every once in a while you're just like, man, gosh dang it, this is fun. Stupid $60 movie. Fun. It's fun.
$60? What?
Tom and his whole family.
Tom and my family.
He brings his children.
You can't
follow women into the movie theater.
You can't. Yeah, you can't just. There's no one now that's like any children. No, any seniors.
Robin and I are buying senior tickets, and we have yet to be called on it because who says what's a senior or not?
I have not seen a movie since that Top Gun movie.
Oh yeah, I still like. We're gonna go see John Wick 4, and John Wick 4 is already out of most theaters.
So go see Covenant, Robert. You'll really like it. I promise.
John Wick
4. I'll put up my list of movies to go watch, and then I'll probably watch it, and I'll be on my phone the whole time because I'm that.
Oh, you're that guy.
Leave it in the car.
Oh my gosh, throw him out of the sport.
I just get bored. I mean, I can't sit and watch a freaking movie, and so it's like, if I can't watch a movie, then I might as well go do something. I know, it's a problem. I get it.
You know what? I didn't tell you. I was looking at like heavyweight pistols. Mostly heavyweight pistols. Shut up, Robert. So you're wrong. Completely wrong. Some thick boys. Just looking at some of the 40 ounce.
Go ahead, my dear friend. Tell me about the heavyweight pistols.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm just trying to get a feel for them. So I'm sitting there like I'm at the Sportsman's. Like, can you see? Yeah. You see the M&P metal, and I like handle the M&P metal. I was like, do you have like the new Canik Steel Rival? And I was like, do you have a 320 Max? I'm like holding that stuff, and then they're like, oh, we also have a CZ Shadow too. And I was like, don't need to see it.
Mm-hmm. Throw that straight in the trash.
I ain't touching that thing. That thing is more likely to kill me than anything else.
Listen, Tom, if you're gonna do it, let's just go get Atlas Gunworks Artemis.
100%.
No, thank you. Anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for subscribing. For everyone here, that would be for Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, and Jared Sepp. I'm Tom Nelson. Bid you peace, love, and souls. We depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat. People probably are going to try to sink called the PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
It was nice being a USPSA member.
Torpedo starboard. Robert gets tossed from